Good evening and welcome back to the race stream for the MONACO R7, brought to you by the Row Drivers Club. Just a quick reminder of the kart numbers. And as you can probably hear, drivers are on their way round to the grid. So it's the last few drivers just getting strapped in. Right, Senior Marshal Robbie and Cosmo in the orange high-vis there. Kamari Williams just being fired up. Said he was struggling for tyre temperature during qualifying. He was taking absolutely no chances on his way to the grid, trying to get as much heat as he can into the rubber. Wayne, you seem to be forgetting I am very posh. That is why. Oh, and Kamari is spun on the way to the grid. Not always your best move as a racing driver to spin on your way to the grid. However, better to spin now than when the race has started. Yihan Kalachan, the last driver to be forming up. The last one to stop after qualifying is the last one to leave the bricks. Works his way up through the middle of the grid to form up in second position. So as the marshal gets himself clear, the red lights will come on underneath the gantry on the digital board. And we have the marshal running, Robbie sprinting over to the grid. I'm not quite sure why. Checking Kamari Williams' engine. He's slightly overshot his grid slot. But it all appears to be fine now. So Robbie Rigoli will give the go ahead. And the red lights come on, revs go up. And away we go, green lights, so we come into stadium for the first time. Who's got a good start? Bo Sullivan loses out to Yihan. It's Yihan from Bo from Sam Cole. Harry Hurst in fourth. And down, and there. Just some contact between Stephen Armitt and Kamari Williams. So Kamari managed to get up the inside through hairpin 2. Now Daniel Tobin having a look into pylon. He's alongside but can't quite make enough ground to make the move work. So as the train of cars snakes their way through the S's and onto the back straight to finish lap 1. It's still as it was as they entered stadium. One lap ago. Ehan being pressured now. Bo Sullivan on his tail. This is going to affect the championship. All Yehan has to do is hold him off. It's a long way to go yet though, and Bo's a very, very quick driver. Slightly further down the field, I can see Daniel Tobin has just got past Stephen Armit. Stephen's having a look up the inside in Stadium, but thinks better of it, and that shows, I think, how much he's come on as a driver this season. The fact that he saw that move, decided it wasn't on, and backed out. The top three spreading out slightly now. We go back down to the back of the grid, and we have Daniel Tobin and Stephen Armit going wheel to wheel. Or Stephen having a look through pylon, but can't quite make that move work. A little bit of contact, but that's in an acceleration zone. I think the marshals will probably let that go. It didn't affect either driver drastically. So still Yehan leading, still Bo right on his tail. Sam Cole in the number 1 is in 3rd. 4th is Harry Hurst, 5th is Leo Holt. And there's an ABC on cart number 11, so that is Stephen Armit, who it would appear may have ABC'd Daniel Tobin behind him. They're still very close at the front. The ABC for car 11. It's changed, it's a contact warning, not an ABC. Which I think, if that is correct, then that may be for the incident slightly earlier on that I called, where there was no real gain on either way. As we watch there, 4th and 5th having a tussle, and so is 6th and 7th. In fact, cart 6 and cart 7 in 6th and 7th. As the red race suit with Louis Phillips just leading that pair at the moment. They haven't just got past Gustav. So the field already spreading out. The race lead is roughly half a lap ahead of the trailing drivers. There's a contact warning for cart number 10. Cart number 10 is Daniel Tobin, who is currently coming into hairpin 1 now behind Stephen Armit. So maybe a bit of retaliation from the young driver. But didn't gain his position, didn't lose a position, so no ABCs or anything there, just good old-fashioned door banging. Stephen Armit just driving away down that back straight. As we have a look, and cart 4, Leo Holt has managed to get past Harry Hurst. But Hurst having a look, trying to get that place back. Can he do it coming onto the back straight? Oh, doesn't try the undercut, but he's got the run. Leo having a look over his shoulder. He's leaving him space, but only just enough space. It has to be said, that is the definition of leaving racing room, but nothing more. Now it's Harry's turn to go on the offensive. What can he do into pylon 1? It's a short straight, but he has a look. He goes to the right hand side. Leo's got the inside line. Harry does the undercut. Doesn't quite work this time. But now he knows that that could work. That's an opportunity. Can he do anything down the back straight? I think that gap is slightly too big to make a move into stadium. Having said that, first going one way, going the other. Doesn't quite pull it off, but that was very, very close again, and he's bumper to bumper as they come into hairpin 1. Just having a look, Leo over his shoulder, trying to decide where's he going. Really, what Harry needs to do as he comes past the building where I am, he needs to go onto the left, and he's got the run into the S's maybe. But there's door banging and the contact side to side. As we see Stephen Armit has just spun at hairpin 1 on a little bit of water by the looks of it. I'm not sure where that would have come from, but perhaps. Oh, and quite a lot of drivers running wide, so I think there may have been a bit of a slippery surface coming into that corner we haven't seen. Oh, and there you go. That just showing how slippery it is. Leo Holt spinning out. Oh, and very nearly collecting. That was very, very close. I think there must be a slippery surface there, but I don't see all of the drivers struggling, so I don't know how slippery it really is. And there's a warning for kart number 4, which is Leo Holt. And a runner on his way to hairpin 1. I can't see who for, but the yellow flags are out. Yehan still leading this race. Bo Sullivan's still on his bumper, but they've got to navigate this stricken kart first. Then they can begin their race again. They're quickly catching Stephen Armit as well. It will then be a back marker. That warning for number 4 still flashes up on the digiboard. I have a feeling it might be Leo Holt that has spun at pylon 1, hence why he won't have seen the board yet. Getting quite dark here now, I would imagine, as the first floodlight does come on, that we're going to see a lot more of those very shortly, as the yellow flag that was at pylon 1 is now clear. So drivers able to push on. Harry Hurst now in comfortable 4th place. And a contact warning out for kart number 3, which is Bo Sullivan. I can only assume that that was on Yehan. Not enough for a penalty, but it was enough to catch the marshal's attention. And Bo having a look now into hairpin 1. Can't quite make it work this time. I'm not sure if it's still slippery down there or not. And so the battle for the lead continues. As they come through the S's, quickly approaching that back marker that should mix things up a bit. Who can carve through better? Or is Bo going to get it done before? Not quite. Bo having a look through stadium but couldn't make it work. Having a look through hairpin 1, not this time. Stephen Armit trying desperately to get out of the way, as is correct. Let me just try to adjust the settings on the camera just to try and improve the lighting situation, because it is getting quite dark now. There's lights come on in front of me. It's going to help things a bit. So the race leaders heading into hairpin 1 again. Still very, very close there. And third place is not far behind them, but he's got to try and get past excuse me, past young Stephen first. Stephen did an excellent job of letting the race leaders through. I'm not sure he's quite... Oh, he does now. He's moved over and has let the driver through, and that is Sam Cole in the blue suits. Third place driver at the moment. The big group heading into pylon 1 we'll have a look at. Very close racing. Not sure if everybody's on the same lap. Judging by... I think that is, in fact, Daniel Tobin allowing the faster drivers through. So again, the correct thing, we don't enforce blue flags, but we do ask the drivers to try and remember who they're actually racing rather than blocking the race leaders, and that's the way it should be. Back markers moving out the way on their own accord. Responsible racing. I thought we may have an issue there, but in fact the marshal just running to the next lamppost to switch the floodlights on, so all is good. Circuit is nice and clear. Gihan Kalachern still leading, taking plenty of curb, covering off any possible move from Bo, making it difficult. Carrying a lot more speed onto the back straight, I have to say, but later down the straight, Bo seems to be getting the edge. Not quite enough to open up and move, but just about enough to think about it. So I would estimate that we're nearly halfway through this race, approaching the halfway point. It's Kamari Williams with a quick look over his shoulder, see who's behind him. The answer at the moment is nobody. He's got a big gap behind him. Still running as far as I'm aware. When we have got a slippery surface flag on the gantry, you could probably just see that as a flashing yellow light. But I can tell you that is a slippery surface flag, the red and yellow striped flag, to try and warn of water of what looks to me like elbow. We just, I'll try and zoom in a little bit there. You can see the puddle where the water's been brought on just behind post 3. As you come out of stadium through elbow. So it's going to make that part of the track a bit narrower for the drivers. As we see the race leader now. Still maintaining that gap, very evenly matched drivers, I have to say. I love the speed of these cars, especially at night. They look even faster. They can much faster as the contact warning goes up on the board for number 12, Harry Hurst. Again, I didn't quite see what that was for. Where is Harry? Harry is down the back straight, just there. Racing with Stephen Armitt. Well, I think that, I'm fairly sure it won't be a P4 position. I've had a few comings together earlier in this season, these two drivers. Oh, and Harry spinning on the water. Getting himself turned around. Oh, and that was contact there. The number 4. It looks as though it was contact anyway. It could have been a slippery surface, but Harry Hurst getting caught up behind them now. They may have lost a couple of positions from that small spin. It just shows you how easily done it can be. And there is now, yes, a contact warning for kart number 4. Stephen just, and Stephen bringing more water on and spinning. And we might have quite a few karts going off now, and we do. That's a chaos at hairpin 1, but everyone managed to get out of there relatively unscathed, I think. No big impacts, nothing major. There will need to be a slippery surface flag into that corner though, especially as the race leaders come in, because this could be drastic, and it is. And it costs Yeehan the lead. He skids wide. I think Bo might have got in there anyway. He was kind of alongside him, but that water definitely didn't help Yeehan out at all. So the slippery surface flag on the gantry still flashing away. Drivers, however, need to take further action for that. The marshal coming into that. That is the problem. When it's dark like this, it can be difficult to pick out the wet patches. As Harry Hurst just passes Stephen after that little incident at hairpin 1. With that group of 5 karts now, as Kamari Williams ends up on the back of that as a contact warning for kart 12, which is Harry Hurst. The number 10 there, Daniel Tobin, just running on his own at the moment. Got plenty of space around him. This big group though, half the grid, racing each other through hairpin 2. Harry Hurst at the front of that group, using the defensive line into the S's. Doesn't quite work. Louis Phillips, that is, that just got past him, just definitely had the run on him. There's a contact warning out for kart 4 and kart 5, which is Leo Holt and Kamari Williams. So it's still clearly very slippery coming into hairpin 1, but a lot of drivers still managing to use the dry line, not having to resort to the wet line, so it's probably not too bad. Bo Sullivan and Yeehan having changed positions because of that incident at hairpin 1. Yeehan just running slightly wide on the wet surface, brought on by Stephen Armitt. Bo going defensive down the straight. Yeehan, the following driver, slightly quicker. Bump drafting into stadium. We get a yellow flag for hairpin 1. So he's not going to get the move done there. Backs off, goes again. back markers ahead of them could make things interesting as well. And the driver that spun a hairpin one there, causing the yellow flag, was Daniel Tobin. I think it was an unforced error, or that tricky wet patch. As the race leaders catching up with some more back markers. Excuse me. Oh, and Louis Phillips. Oh no, Bo losing out. Drivers spinning on the wet patch. Bo Sullivan loses out to Gihan after all of that. And now he's got some work to do. Very capable driver. And I'm sure he can close that gap. It's more a case of can he get past the equally capable Gihan. As we enter, I would say, probably the last quarter of this race. So as Yihan now trying to pass these back markers, it's going to help Bo catch him up if he can't dispatch Kamari Williams in the next couple of turns. He's probably, I would have thought, going to get him down the straight. But Kamari defending, not really needed. And now Bo is all over the back of Yihan again. Can Yihan get past Kamari here? He does. And Kamari slots back in between them. So now Bo needs to pass that back marker. Waving his fist at him in frustration. Saying, "You are not racing me. Why are you holding me up?" Of course, what Kamari doesn't realise is this could drastically affect the championship lead, as Yihan driving away now. And there's a contact warning for 5. And 5 is Kamari Williams. And Marshall's just saying we are keeping an eye on you. Stephen Armit has a small spin on the wet patch. Harry Hurst going to get past him into hairpin 2. Not quite. And so Bo past Kamari now, as you see Harry Hurst letting the race leaders through. Stephen Armit going to be doing the same when he can. And does there, just moves offline, lets them through, and Yihan flies past. There's a contact warning out for kart 3. Kart 3, Bo Sullivan. I should know that one really, I've been watching him for most of the race. So this large group, we'll zoom out slightly so we can see the whole thing. Lots of small races going on in this group. Number 3 there, directly behind Stephen Armit, is second place Bo Sullivan. The lead of that group, just on the right hand side of your picture now, is Yihan Kalichan. As Bo gets past Stephen, and Harry Hurst going to yield as well, I would have thought. There's a contact warning out for kart 11, that is Stephen Armit. So far, Harry punches the steering wheel in frustration, but he knows there wasn't a lot he could have done about that. it will have gone down as a racing incident. Bo now going to get past Harry Hurst down the back straight. Not racing for position, of course, so Harry won't defend. As we see these group of 3 drivers, the race leader at the back of that group, with the grey crash helmet. Apologies for the loss in connection. We only run off the Wi-Fi, so it can be patchy sometimes. As Kalachan now going to get past his back marker into stadium, and does. Gets up the inside. Nice move. But Bo is still with him. The blue and white striped crash helmet. So I would assume that we have roughly 10 minutes to go. Right. We started the stream a couple of minutes early, of course, hence why the timer is on 32. Oh, and Bo having a look, trying to get past that back marker. I don't think he's going to do it on that side. He needs to get over onto the other side. But that, of course, means getting a run out of hairpin 2. Which is easier said than done. Doesn't quite make it stick this time. Final lap board is out. So the final lap going to be going out to Yihan Kalachan. Or has gone out to Yihan Kalachan even. Bo Sullivan's still second, and so far as I can tell, Sam Cole is going to still be third, as Bo manages to get past. But I think it's going to be too late now. Unless there is an error, Yihan Kalachan is going to take this checkered flag and quite possibly upset the championship order, and the checkered flag goes down. Yihan takes it. Bo Sullivan even second. Yihan really racing up to that bricks. He is happy with that, and it's well deserved. It was a very good race all round. Drivers slowing as instructed. Bo Sullivan just taking it in of what's just happened. He's not, I don't think he can be upset by that, maybe frustrated, but he gave it his all. So did Yihan, and this time Yihan came out on top. So I'm not quite sure what's happened to the picture there. But as the drivers are all stopped now, we'll be ending the stream anyway. So congratulations to everybody. And we'll see you again very soon for another championship race.